welcome to my channel. My name is John. A few weeks ago, I did a video about the books that I read in 2020. After I uploaded it to YouTube, I realized that I had left out some information, so I decided to do a part 2 to provide a little bit more information. Just to follow up on what I spoke about in the first video, I do keep track of the country of origin for the authors of the books I read, trying to get a little bit more international in my reading. I know that some booktubers keep track of statistics such as if the author is a person of color or their LGBTQ status. I don't do that. It's not necessarily important to me. My attitude is that if a book looks interesting, I want to read it. I don't care if the author is a green-skinned transsexual from Neptune. As long as the book is interesting to me, that's all I care about. And as far as their personal life, I don't need to stick my nose into their business. This sheet shows the short stories that I read in 2020. I read a total of 258 short stories. Mostly science fiction, contemporary, suspense, fantasy, a little bit of horror, mostly in the physical format, some Kindle. And these are the magazines I read. For the Kindle Unlimited, when you're a member of Kindle Unlimited, you sometimes get access to short stories. So I read about 10 of those. And let me see here. And this is a breakdown of how many short stories I read per month, average 2150. And as I said, I read a number of short stories, different authors, various magazines. Went on a little bit of a tangent here, reading a bunch of short stories from New Yorker magazine. I have a subscription. And I try to keep a little bit of variety. Don't stick with one thing generally too much. These Twilight Zone magazines. Twilight Zone magazine was originally published, I think, in 1981. It ran for like 8 years. For a long time, I had a bunch of issues, and somewhere along the way, I lost most of them. A few years back, I believe it was on eBay, I bought several issues of Twilight Zone magazine from when it was originally issued. And it's a little bit interesting thinking about almost 40 years ago that these stories were originally published. Sometimes I wonder a little bit what happened to the authors. But yeah, I read a pretty fair number of short stories. And I also read some nonfiction magazines. When I finished reading the whole issue, I put it in a spreadsheet. And there's Time, Science News, Discover, Scientific American, Astronomy. Quite a bit leaning heavily on the science side of it, trying to learn a little bit more about science. And predominantly science, and mostly Kindle. Only one issue was a physical issue. And have some charts. Now, going back to when I first started keeping track of my reading, it's predominantly fiction is what I read. There's 82% fiction, 18% nonfiction. And gender tends to be a little bit heavy for the male authors. I'm trying to do better, trying to read more female authors, but still predominantly male. And I tend to mostly read physical books, 30% ebooks or Kindle. I don't do audiobooks, just doesn't particularly interest me. Maybe somewhere down the line I'll give that a try, but right now I'm not really too interested in that. The books in 2020 more heavily in the 301 to 400 page range. I believe I'm a little bit heavier. There's more longer books in 2019. Still mostly 301 to 400, but a few more books that are a little longer. In 2020, I did read 2 books that were 1,000 pages or more. Books per month, a little bit all over the map there. In May, I read 12 books. In April, September, October, I only read 5 books each month. Pages per month, the big month was August, almost 4,000 pages. And looks like March was the low month, barely 1,500. Author nationality, predominantly American. I do want to read more international authors. 11% Great Britain. Read a little bit from Australia, Sweden, Italy, Germany, France, Japan, Mexico, and Poland. And I would like to expand that a bit this year. Magazine, a breakdown of short stories per month. January is kind of a low month, as was April. Had a few months where I read 25 short stories or more. And breakdown of the genres I read. Fairly even, a little bit heavy on suspense and science fiction. Magazines were predominantly science magazines. I do want to read more of the general news, try to keep up with that. And that finishes out what I read in 2020. I hope you like this video. I hope you'll subscribe and like the video. And I hope to create more videos going forward, do some monthly wrap-ups, talk about the books I've read, talk about TV shows and movies I watch, and maybe do a few other things. So again, I hope you'll subscribe and like. And remember, you're part of a winning team. Congratulations.